They know now, I just want to stick there. That's all I can do.
There's a lot, it's like every week. They're out there representing us.
Let me bring you back anything. Text me. Next time there? At the pharmacy? If you can get a picture of it, and it helps me. If you can get a picture of it, I can see if I can get it. Yeah, have her take a picture. Yeah, I'll be there Thursday and Friday at where I run the pharmacy. Okay, I'm already going for a friend that needs something for UTI, so I'm already going. No, it's already, there's two across the street from the clinic I go to for years. Is Dick coming tonight? I guess you got a backup, so that's good. Hey, Van. You might be the man. Jake's not here yet.
What's our historical guy? Lyle.
I don't know.
I heard he was going to, but then they wouldn't. That's what I said. He probably wasn't.
That's right. Just wait one more minute for Jake. Are we ready to go?
I think he's okay with it.
He didn't text anything.
That's what he says. Man, I read that. So nothing comes with us. They'll just keep monitoring.
Texted me by chance.
When I was going in for my knee
5:15 on the
replacement,
dot.
they did blood work. That's when they found me. Or I wouldn't
From
know.
work.
So I'm assuming it's treatable. The types of markers that I have, everything is good that way. This, they took some of them.
Welcome, everybody, to our Lindon City Council meeting here this lovely June 5th, 2023, here in our council chambers. We always begin our meeting with an invocation as well as a pledge of allegiance. And our council member, Jake Hoyt, is just running a little bit late, we believe. So I would like to ask council member Van Broderick if he'd do the invocation. And then followed by, we'll have our pledge of allegiance offered by one of our rodeo attendants, Cecily Williams.
Our Heavenly Father, we give thanks for the opportunity that we have to meet in this Lindon City Council meeting tonight. We're grateful for this wonderful community that we live in and pray for each of the citizens that reside here and grateful for them and the contributions that they make and the service that they provide to one another. We're grateful for our first responders and pray for them, grateful for their service in our behalf. We are thankful for the moisture we've received this past winter. Help us to be mindful of that and be careful with flooding, and then to be able to conserve and use the water wisely. We invite thy Spirit to be with us here this evening, and as we discuss the items that are on the agenda, help us to have keen minds and make good decisions, and help us to not be contentious, but to hear one another and to understand each other's concerns. And we offer this prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 All right, Cecily, if you want to come stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Van, and Cecily, thank you so much. All right, we will now have our call to order, our roll call, and I'll start here. Oh, okay. I'll start on my right. Go ahead.
Randy Powell, present.
Jake Hoyt, present.
Carolyn Lundberg, present.
Daryl Magleby, present.
Van Broderick, present.
Mike Vancherry, present.
It's great. You can get these agendas here at the front of the room if you want to see what we're covering tonight, and it's always good to have one handy. Okay, and then Okay, and then we'll move on to item number 2. This is our presentations and announcements, and we are very honored to have a couple special presentations tonight. The first one is going to be, we'd like to welcome our Fire Chief, Mark Sanderson, and we have some special acknowledgements tonight to the members of our Orem Fire Department who serve our community so well.
Mayor and council, thanks for having us. My name is Mark Sanderson. I am the fire chief for our communities. What I have is a letter from Chief Brower that I'd like to read and then make the special recognition. So it says, Chief Sanderson, on April 26, 2023, a motorcyclist collided with a passenger vehicle at an intersection in Lindon City. The motorcyclist died on impact. C Platoon with Station 4 responded to the scene and immediately assessed the patient along with providing life-saving efforts. Although the victim was beyond help, your staff conducted themselves with professionalism. Due to the death and the location of the collision, additional resources were requested to properly investigate the scene and conduct traffic control. While waiting for resources, C Platoon took proactive efforts in assisting with traffic control by positioning the fire apparatus to protect the scene. Perhaps the most impressive aspect of what I observed from your staff was the empathy shown along with the willingness to assist in any way. Beyond the solid relationship between our agencies, I wanted to commend each member of your department who assisted in the incident. The scene was traumatic for those involved and for those who witnessed the collision and aftermath. Your staff showed compassion, exhibited professionalism, and represented your agency in a positive light. I continue to be impressed with the caliber of firefighter and leadership of Orem Fire. The citizens of Lindon are well served. Please extend our deepest appreciation for the assistance rendered by Battalion Chief Pearson, Captain Cook, Engineer Livingston, firefighter paramedics Malquist, and Wagstaff. Respectfully, Chief Brower. So this letter, before I present these employees to you, just represents the relationship that I believe we have with Chief Brower, the police department, and the city of Lindon itself, and in the professional services that we provide. And so with that, if I could have, I brought both assistant chiefs, Lon Myers and Sean Hurst, if they could come up and join me while we present to you. And if they'd just come up and stand, what I'd like to do, Mayor, if it's all right, is once we recognize these, I'd like to take a picture with the platoon and a photo with you
Absolutely,
guys.
you got it.
So I'd first call up Battalion Chief Steve Pearson, Captain Camden Cook, Engineer Gordon Livingston, Matt Malquist, and firefighter EMT Josh Wagstaff. And then I have a letter of commendation based off the letter from Chief Brower that we'll present to each one of those, and then we have their name officially put on a plaque that's within the fire station that represents for the work and the efforts on this incident. So with that, thank you, Mayor, and
Thank you.
however you'd like to.
Thank you. I'd just like to give Chief Brower, thank you again for this acknowledgement. This was a truly tragic event, and I heard there was many extra hours given. You went above and beyond to help those on the scene and all the, not just traffic control, but a lot goes into taking proper evidence and for an incident like this. So thank you. We are so grateful for your service and all you do here. So, all right, council, let's go ahead and take a picture then.
Can't see Chief Danny, he can't see you? You're right. This hair on my face breaks the camera.
All right. Well, we're really lucky tonight. We get to have two incredible acknowledgements tonight. We also now get to have a presentation by our new 2023 Lindon Junior Rodeo Royalty. So these are really fine young women. I had the pleasure of being able to attend the portion of their competition where they spoke and had to give a speech, and they were all just bright shining stars, amazing poise. We're just really lucky to have them here representing us. And they're going to be going out all summer long and throughout the year representing us in many, many communities. During Lindon Days, they do a lot of fun things with the youth. I think one of our most popular events during Lindon Days is when the little kids get to rope or get on a horse. And so we really appreciate you ladies and helping spread the spirit of rodeo in our community and service. So I'll turn it over to you.
I'd just like to say a few words. I'm not a rodeo queen, so.
Okay, Floyd.
I'm here representing Shawnee Rasmussen. She's my daughter. She is running flags for Pony Express Rodeo and Strawberry Rodeo. We have practice tonight, so. But here on her behalf, I'd just like to say thanks to the mayor and the city council people for the work and the money and the effort that was put into the arena. We really appreciate that. Our first event in the arena was the queening competition. So we got a good turnout. We were the three that scored the highest. And up with that, we have a couple of big events coming to the arena. We have some play days that are already scheduled. Those play days, we have been getting 40 to 50 contestants as far north as Ogden down to Fairview. So we'll put the arena to some good use. But these ladies have already started representing Lindon. The Pony Express parade was Saturday, and they were there with their horses down through the parades. They had the buck banners on. Everybody could see that they were from Lindon, and they looked good. I want to say thanks to the parents. Without them, it wouldn't be as successful. They put a lot of time and effort into this. And thanks for Heath and Ron Clegg working with the arena. They kept us involved a lot, and we appreciated that.
Thank you, and we so appreciate Shawnee and all she does. She's amazing, just the hours she gives to the community and the youth and everything. So we'd love to meet our queen, Alexis, and our first attendant, Cecily, and our second attendant, Adri. So go ahead, turn it over to you, Alexis.
I'd just like to start by saying thank you to our city council for letting us come up and talk today. I'm Lexi. I'm your 2023 Lindon Days Queen. What I'm most excited for about Lindon Days this year is our Cowgirl Clinic, which we are able to give pony rides to hundreds of kids during that, and the Lindon Rodeo on August 3rd, which, what was I going to say about that? It's awesome, yeah. And there's one more thing I'd like to just, on all of us, we'd like to request bathrooms, maybe at the arena, just something up for discussion. And thank you for having me.
You are so welcome.
I'm Cecily Williams. I'm the first attendant, and I just want to say thank you to our city for being able for us to have the opportunity to have a Lindon Rodeo Royalty. I'm so excited for our trail ride this year during Lindon Days on August 29th. I think it's such a great opportunity for all of the horse community, everyone from that rides English, Western, young, old. We're all able to come together and just ride in those beautiful mountains here in Utah, and so I'm so excited for that. I'm so grateful that Lindon has the opportunity and gives us the opportunity to be able to do that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm Adri Waite, and I'm your second attendant. I'm super excited to be able to represent Lindon by going to our rodeo and parade, and also going to other cities and participating in their rodeos and parades. And I just want to thank all of you for making that possible for us. So super excited for all of that.
And then here's these for you guys as well.
Oh, thank you, young ladies. All right, well, we are certainly excited and thrilled for all you do in this next year. We're going to be seeing a lot of you, rubbing shoulders with you a lot. We're excited to do that. I'd just like to let any council members make any comments as well, if you would like.
You gals look fabulous. Thanks for your service.
And we know your families will be giving a lot of service too. And those horses as well, taking care of, keeping them showmanship ready, that's a lot of work.
How are the
Two.
improvements down there at the rodeo grounds? Good? Worked out like we thought it would? Awesome.
Really
Okay.
Okay.
You have steers coming this year for the deal, so the return shoot's gonna work out great for
Yeah.
lucky steers. And I think right now we have more girls entered than guys, so.
Great.
Fabulous. I love it.
Awesome.
Well, we've got 3 strong young women here in front of us. Y'all have the same last name, starts with a W. I thought that was quite interesting. So, Wonder Women, 3 Wonder Women. All right. Well, thank you so much. You are welcome to stay as long as you like as we go on to other portions of business, you know, like naming city streets and enterprise funds, transfers, if you like. But if you have other things to tend to, you are certainly welcome to go at any time as well. Thank you again. Let's just give them a round of applause. If you would turn around. Stand up, please.
Could we get a picture?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. Let's get another.
Not everybody wants that.
We do, so.
A little more.
This is a way prettier picture than a bunch of firemen, that's for sure.
On three.
All right, on to some more fun stuff. All right, at this point, if we have any comments or announcements from mayor and council members other than what they plan to do in their council reports, okay, seeing none, we will now move to item number 3, which is our open session for public comment. So if there's anyone here who would like to come forward and address the council with a concern or a question or an issue, you are welcome to do so. So we'd welcome you up here and speak into the microphone.
Here, I'm not very good when I sit, I get nervous.
Well,
So I had some concerns about the Lindon Rodeo royalty, and let me introduce myself. My name's Larry Walker, I'm Lexus's grandpa. And so, sorry. But anyway, last year she was first attendant, and I think we missed some things. And anyway, I brought some information into the city, and the mayor was gracious enough to give me a call. We talked about it. Heath
Amen.
also gave me a call, and so I think all my concerns have been resolved. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Larry, and I was born in Lindon on 4th East and Center Street on the northeast corner. I know Randy, she lived across from my parents. I know Van, I worked with him for years. And so anyway, I want Lindon to stay as it is. Unfortunately, my wife told me we were gonna move to a 55 and older community, so now I live in Pleasant Grove. But I still have property in a barn in Lindon. And so anyway, it's very important to me that Lindon can last as long as possible a little bit of country. And our ambassadors right there, I think, are the best thing we have to go ahead and keep that. So I appreciate everything Lindon City's done with the arena and everything they've done. I appreciate the mayor for giving me time to talk to her, and Heath, and then I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate you too. All right. Any other open session comments at this time are welcome?
I have a question.
Oh, are you able to make it forward? We do these online, so the microphone helps. And then if you could state your name, that would be most appreciated. Thank you. And we've got mic is green, so it's on. Yes, please do. Thank you.
Okay, I live on 9th East and Center Street, northeast corner. And we have a road called Center Street that wanders up there. And it was changed a few years ago. It had, before they made a road across the canal, they moved the road north and took some of the land that was over here and left it. There's a piece of property, I don't know, does the church own all of that land on the south side of Center Street, all the way to the canal? There's a big strip of land there now between their black covering of the fence and the road. It's maybe 20, 30 feet wide. And nowhere on,
We could pull up an
nowhere
aerial
in
here.
Lindon,
I believe the church owns it now, right?
The church
I live
owns,
on,
the church purchased some property right here, and they will be landscaping up to the curb and sidewalk.
up to the sidewalk?
Yes,
So that they haven't covered, with that black tarp, they haven't covered all their land?
correct.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
Construction.
And that takes care of my question. I think you should have a parking lot along that somewhere, along that trail. People park on the roads and go for walks or go for ride bikes or whatever, and it's a little bit awkward for them to park. And it's much worse, of course, down when they're playing games on the football or the high school field. People parked all the way up and down Center Street, or 200 South, and on 9th East to go to those activities. And you don't have any parking for people who are going there to observe things, which, have lacrosse games on that field. But people who want to ride or walk or whatever on the trail have nowhere to park either, except in somebody's front of their houses along the road. And that road is not really very wide, They narrowed that road a great deal when they made a road up there. It used to be a really wide road that went across all the way up to 9th East. And it was over 60 feet. I measured it one time. And I don't know what it is now, maybe 39 or something like that.
They try to get it to kind of choke a little bit near the canal, so as people cross it, it's a little safer. Cars will slow
I
down
always wondered about
a little
that,
bit in
Always
that
wondered why they
particular
narrowed it down.
spot.
I'm not sure that's the best thing to have done, but that's what they did. Well, that's really all I wanted to talk. Although I did have one other, I don't think it has anything to do with the city though, but probably does in a way. They just came to my lot a short time ago, the electric company. I have a transformer box there right next to the corner of 9th East and Center Street. And for a long time, I've had some shrubs growing to hide that thing. They've been getting bigger. They finally got where they'd hide it. And now they came, these people, I don't know, they were doing something in front of Brother Asterson's place with another transformer. And they came down there and just ripped out my shrubs and said, we have 10 feet. We have 10 feet. It's on our box here somewhere. And we have the right to do that. And they tore them out or ripped them, cut them down, just left a mess. Didn't come and ask me anything or tell me anything. I just happened to see them. I didn't like that very much. I thought that was kind of an invasion of my property with no real concern or thought of what they were doing. And I said, well, if you own 10 feet in front of that thing, then you have a responsibility to keep it nice. You keep it looking nice. It's in Lindon City, and of course they ignored me. So I don't know. What about that?
Well, there are public utility easements, is what I'm gathering is what you're talking about
Right.
with the different utility companies. I have one on my property as well. Maybe our administrator could illuminate a little bit about that.
Yeah, most subdivision lots have easements around the perimeter for utilities, and so companies like power, cable, phone, internet companies, they may have utilities in there. Do you happen to know which one it was?
Power.
It was Rocky Mountain Power?
Yes.
Okay. I have a contact there, and I would love to reach out to them and let them know of your concern. And
I called them already.
okay.
I called. They said they'd call back and never have.
And you're on this corner right here, is that right?
It doesn't look right.
No? Are you on the
Are you Mr.
northeast or
Shea?
northwest?
Is it-
Go quite a ways north. Corner
Tell
of,
us your name.
9th
LJ
East and
Sylvester.
Center
It's
Street.
Jay Sylvester.
This is
Jay
east.
Sylvester.
Oh, Jay Sylvester.
LJ. I can't recognize my
Let's see.
home on that picture.
Where that big green tree is.
Oh, that's it, yeah, that's it.
got
Thank
the
you.
trail there.
Northwest
Okay.
All right?
Right there on that power box?
Under that every
Yeah,
morning.
that's it.
Okay.
Okay, that power box is in that
We'll
corner
go-
between
we'll
my
also use the-
driveway and the road.
They're just so
Okay. Oh, you know what? It's slow to react here, so, well, we will, I'll make some phone calls.
I
so,
appreciate it.
Okay.
You got my number?
And I'm gonna ask you to write it down for me,
Okay.
all right?
Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Don't take-
Sylvester.
Bless you. Thank you.
All right. Any other public comments? All righty. Okay, we will move on to item number 4 on the agenda. This is our council reports. And Mr. Vanchery, Councilmember Vanchery, you ready to go?
I am. Other than the normal routine meetings and events, I really don't have anything of consequence to report.
The cemetery building construction
Oh.
is beginning. So as we know, that contract was awarded, and so that will be fun to watch and see how that goes. I know Randy and the mayor may mention it as well, but our Memorial Day service could not have been better. It was just outstanding with wonderful weather, wonderful people, it was just fabulous. It just encourages patriotism, well-attended, and I know Randy and the mayor our mayor does a good job speaking. You just gotta know that if you haven't
Oh,
had that
thank you.
chance. So, that's all I wanna mention, is just really well done, really well done. And you can pass that along to our organizer. His name skipped me right now. Simmons, there you go.
That's right.
Sergeant Simmons. Okay.
Excellent. In fact, I saw many photos on the Lindon Connection about the memorial service, and I thought, man, I wish I could have been there. But my mother, who's been dead 2 years, would have haunted me for life. I wouldn't have decorated her grave in Monroe this year, so that's where I was instead. A few things from me. Lindon Days is working. We're working to make that a successful event. Heath's given me a few things to update us on. The bio for the Austins, who will be our grand marshals, is completed, and very impressed by it. I'll send a copy around so you can look at it this evening. The booklet is in proof stage. Should be mailed to residents 2 weeks prior to Lindon Days starting. We've been successful in raising about $34,000 for Lindon Days. It's a record for us, I think, over the last number of years. This year, the rodeo is going to have sheep riding and steer riding, which they haven't had for a number of years. And there'll be 10 youth riders in that event. There's currently 53 parade entries, which is higher than we've ever been to this stage. And that does not include any of the city or police or fire. So we're really excited about the size of our parade this year.
Is there a dentist that's going to be involved in this so that they can make sure that all the cavities?
candy?
Yep.
Oh, we'll have to see.
We've got a few in the community that can do that.
That's right.
I do have a list, this is very important. We have a list of ice cream flavors we need to pick as a council. I'm going to send it around and just have you kind of mark the ones that you prefer. We're going to need about 6 or 7 of those.
All right, I think cookies and cream gets the biggest line. Or yeah. It's all about Jake, whatever
No, I'm just kidding.
Regarding the centennial celebration for 2024, I proposed to Adam and Heath that we maybe find someone that can maybe create a logo that's a little better than what we currently have. So I'm going to reach out to a couple of my design friends and see if they'll give us a killer deal and design something for us that we can use on, you know, whether it be the swag that we purchase, things of that nature for the 2024 season. So, and then I'll
You were just
present.
talking to just a Centennial logo, is that
Correct.
correct? Okay.
Not a Lindon City
Not a
logo.
rebrand.
Right,
Correct.
rebrand would be,
Rebrand would be expensive, I believe. We have a number of swag items that we need to consider. Only response I got was from Adam on the email I sent, so if anyone has any specific items that they'd like us to consider for Centennial items to sell during next year, let me know. Regarding the Historical Commission, there's 6 or 7 names that we have, and I think we need to probably move forward with at least 5 or 6 of those and consider them.
We did receive one online so far.
Okay.
So
Great. If you'd get that to me, then that'd be
Well,
great. Anyone here that's a Lindon resident that's interested in the Historical Commission, we're starting that up again, and it's volunteers that participate in various historical events during the year and help collect information for the city. I think I sent this out to at least the council, but this is a QR code that we've created. Heath's department created this for the intent to capture all the woody shrubs and trees that are planted in Lindon City. For 2023 and 24, we want to plant at least 1,000 in our city. And so that's our goal, and so we want all the residents to participate in letting us know when they do that. I actually used this afternoon and put in some that I've planted at this point, and it works really well, and it gives you an email confirmation. It's really a great program, so encourage residents to use that. We'll make that available on social media and encourage everyone to use that. And I think that is all I have.
Great.
Thank you.
I'll let you go, Jake.
Sure, I've got several great updates. Heath Bateman's here, our Parks and Rec director. Busy time of year for him with the pool. Our summer program started this week. I think I went through the list of those last time. Quite the offering there for the youth and teens of our city. Baseball. Every time I get numbers from Parks and Rec, they're always way more than I would have thought. Our soccer numbers out of this world, but baseball, which in my opinion is a little smaller of a program, between T-ball, coach pitch, and machine pitch, we have 601 signups, which is I mean probably triple the number that I would have thought. Heath, you never cease to amaze me. Great work by our Parks and Rec department. It just shows we pull from different cities. There's not enough kids here to support the numbers we're getting, and we have a great program. Switching gears to PD, some other really great community interaction. Sergeant Welker, we want to give him his flowers. He coordinated a bike rodeo in conjunction with Walmart. It was a 3-hour event last Saturday. I don't know if any of you saw it. Chief sent me a picture. They had the state safety trailer there, helping kids understand the importance of bike safety. Really above and beyond something our PD doesn't need to do, but they choose to do. That's just great for our city. Chief was successful in receiving a grant, a mental health and wellness grant. Him and his guys were successful in receiving that. We're big fans of grants, and I love that specific area to focus on. I think it's great for our guys. Goes on and on, but I appreciate PD and all that they're doing. Lastly, just a quick update from ICSC that Mayor and I attended. Was very successful. I've never felt like such a small fish in a big pond, but I've never felt so positive about our prospects for 700 North as I do right now after meeting Mike Florence. Thanks to him setting up some really great appointments. I really feel optimistic about our prospects there commercially to bring in businesses to our 700 North corridor. So appreciated that opportunity to represent the city there. And that's all I have.
Great. Just a few things here to talk about. Yes, Van is correct in speaking about Memorial Day, how fabulous it was. The mayor did a fabulous job. All around, just a fabulous, fabulous day with fabulous speakers and participants. We were lucky enough to have our Lindon Youth Council there, both the outgoing and the incoming, and they did such a fabulous job interacting with each other. I was so pleased to watch our outgoing Youth Council members give a portion of information about what the different panels on our memorial for the veterans are and our fallen police officers. It was just a really great program, and they did such a good job. Really looking forward to working with this youth council this next year, or this next half a year that I have left on my term, and just a fabulous bunch of youth. Regarding CERT, there's more to come. I've been in touch with Kelly, who is not available at this time to update me, but we will have more information at the next one about our upcoming shelter that we're going to she's trying to put into place at the community center. And as far as the senior center, Jamie lets me know that we've served over 600 meals in last month, and that's kind of been a general thing, and I'm so appreciative of her giving us that number. To the seniors, we welcome 12 new members to the group. They've had some excursions. They went out to Thanksgiving Point and talked to the Holden Glass Studio that was out there. They had a fabulous time. Something for everybody to be aware of, if you have a senior in your family or are a senior, on June 21st, Wednesday, from 5 to 7 at Pioneer Park, they're going to have a barbecue, and it's $3 per person. And Jamie would love to have you sign up for that. You can get in touch with her at the community center. Little Miss Lindon will be helping with some games and activities, as well as Kona Ice will be there to participate and help with doing some snow cones. They're just really excited. It's one of my favorite things. Once a week I go and teach a cardio drumming class. Today I'm going to actually be out of town for my next class, so we actually did it today and still had a good group, and we just have a good time. So that is what's going on my actual assignments. I really quickly just want to touch on the fact that Tabitha Ways has doubled in outside of their box today, just since I was at the community center. So on my way here, it was doubled. My second thing out of 3 is that I'm just wondering, I don't know who can help me with this. The road on Center Street has been cut up it's about 375 east, I want to say. It's been cut up for way too long. And I'm just wondering when that contractor, I know it's even in my ward, but when that contractor is going to take and make sure that our Center Street is sealed back up somehow, because every day I go down that almost every day, it just gets deeper and deeper. So about 375-ish east on Center Street. That is where that's at. And then I'm just so excited to see our candidate pool. Since I'm not running for re-election, we're up to 4 candidates. I see 1, 2 here today. Just really excited to see this fill up, and just, anyway. You know, it's fun. So it's a fun thing to do. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Randy. And speaking of roads, we do have, Council, you probably saw the plan for this next fiscal year, 2.4 million up to 3 million, somewhere range going to our roads this year. We're really proud of staff and council and all of us working together to put a big focus here in roads in Lindon. So
Used to be
thanks
lucky to
for being
get
on top.
300,000.
Yes, significant. All right. Great. Everyone, so many positive things going on. Thank you for all you're doing in your service. Just a couple highlights for the past couple weeks. Like Jake mentioned, we were down at ICSC, which is the International Global Retailers Show, meeting with development groups and various brands and brokers. And so we're going to keep working hard on that to try to bring something really special to our future downtown area. That will be a great tax base, but also have some wonderful, activities and things that people will really enjoy here in the community. We'll see where that goes. It's a tricky business these days. We also, just this past little bit, everyone had a lot of graduations. I was able to represent the city at the Pleasant Grove high school graduation, and we have a lot of youth that attend that high school. And then also the Mountain Land Association of Governments. Right now, you'll notice there's some work going on at our interchange here at the PG Lindon interchange, serving on that board. There's a lot going on with the transportation and the coming population growth, and we actually already have a lot of significant traffic issues. And so I had the privilege of being able to meet with Congressman Owens just to try to draw some highlights to some of the funding issues maybe that we might need federally to support here in our county, being the fastest growing area in the United States right now. And he said he'd be working towards some of those issues. So there's a lot of great things happening with the Utah Lake right now. The Utah Lake Authority, there's various cleanup projects, a lot of help going to restoring the lake, getting the water cleaner, better, and helping the habitat of the plants and animals, and hopefully getting people to want to come back to the lake. And so that's what Congressman Owens was coming down and meeting at different shore points there to understand. So really quickly here locally tomorrow, Heath is going to be throwing the party of the summer and his staff. So bring the kiddos out to Friar Park on 600 North Main. They bring this amazing machine that does the bubbles, foam bubble machine that fills the basin. The kids can have a blast. They have free snow cones. Little Miss Lindon will be there, face painting games, all kinds of fun things. It's a blast. Kickoff to summer. So at 1 p.m., 1 to 3. So anyway, great thing at Friar Park tomorrow. Okay. Thank you to our Parks and Rec leadership by Heath and his staff. They do amazing, amazing things in our community. All right, I will move on now to our administrator's report. Oh, sorry, I apologize. I'm a little bit out of order. Yes, administrator's report after council reports.
Just a reminder, we've got Daryl listed for the next upcoming newsletter article. Thanks, Daryl. Juan has reached out to the Orem Public Works Director and some of their staff looking to set up a tour of their water reclamation facility. I'm just curious, is daytime, lunchtime, is that feasible? Or are you looking, do you feel like an evening is best for that? I'm just looking ballpark. We'd likely just advertise this as a tour, and whoever can make it, we'll go from there. But tell me, I would expect probably an hour at the site.
Other than Thursdays, unless it's after 12:30, I'm pretty flexible.
Yeah, like a midday hour
Would that be
fully
feasible?
doable.
Not Thursday.
Other than Thursday, okay.
I like that.
All right, we'll send that info to them and we'll see what dates we get back and then we'll let you know. Okay. Let's see, and then just an FYI there was a discussion about purchasing some property. We are waiting on that seller for some additional information. Once we get that, we'll get back with you, so. Haven't received anything yet, but it's pending, so. That's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Wednesday is filing day.
One other quick thing that was kind of nice. On a whim, I filled out an application to You Serve Utah. They're an organization that tries to encourage community volunteerism and involvement, and our youth council was awarded a $500 grant. So we're excited to give that to the youth council, and they're going to be hopefully using that towards the Life Hacks 101 event coming up this fall. So we'll be working on that. All right. Moving on to item number 6, this is the approval of the minutes from May 15th, 2023. Council, if you've had a moment to look over those and have any additions or corrections for Kathy.
Are we doing all of those minutes
Same time.
at the same time?
As well as March 29th and April 11th, so we've got a little,
I wasn't there for the April 11th, so I didn't have anything.
I have no adjustments.
I don't know. I'll make a motion
thank you.
that we approve the city council minutes from May 15th, 2023, the regular city council minutes, and that the joint meeting minutes from March 29th, 2023, and April 11th, 2023 be approved.
Second.
The motion by Councilmember Hoyt, seconded by Councilmember Magalby. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. All right, there's no consent agenda items tonight for number 7, so we'll move forward to item number 8. And this is a review and action on a potential additional naming of a couple of roads here in Lindon, and this will be presented by Mr. Stephen Ehat. Welcome.
Honorable Mayor Lundberg and council members, it's a pleasure to be here. I hope this is not overkill, but I think it'll be helpful for those members of the public who may be present. or who are watching online. I want to make sure that the council has on record a good record of its, the issues that it's considered in making this determination, if it does. There may be some sensitive issues, and I think they can all be resolved. And I think I'll take about 7 to 9 minutes to present and then open up to questions about my proposal.
Good. All right, and we have some slides that were prepared as well.
Mr. Ehat has control of
Okay.
those, so.
Very good.
I'm waiting for the PowerPoint to scroll down. Is it
Hit
on?
that down arrow.
I'm hitting it.
Let me, hang on here, let me
There.
restart that just a second, Stephen.
Nope. That's not it.
Hang on just a second and I'll restart it and we'll make sure it's working for you.
While we're waiting, when I was reviewing all of these slides a few days ago, I thought, this has got Stephen Ehat's stamp on this, because he is so thorough and so wonderful. I do appreciate all your efforts there.
Well, that's very kind of you. Okay, and then if you could put it on full screen.
Yep, now
Those who may be watching this online, it'll be in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Okay, I propose that the city consider adding, not changing, but adding a name to a portion of 835 East, and possibly also add the name to a portion of 400 East. The added name would be Temple View. In this presentation, I'll show you what the view is of the temple on 835 East. I'll discuss a few options that I think the city has, and I'll mention a few potential concerns that can easily be resolved.
Stephen, I have a quick question. Did
Yeah.
you 4th East or 900 East?
You just said 400 east. Are you meaning 900?
Did you mean 900 East?
That's what and my typo has survived into this text.
Okay.
900
Because I
East.
have a
900
question
East.
mark
Well,
by 400.
835 turns into 900, it's all the same.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Yes, 900 East. And I'll mention some relevant examples of how the city street names accommodate the presence of religious structures within municipalities. This will give you a view, and the public a view, of how you actually are joining a large contingent of municipalities around the world that have acknowledged religious structures in cities. So first, the view that we're talking about. On this map, you can see just barely a green line that begins at the red arrow and goes down. That's the Burdock Canal. And here is an oval surrounding the present location of the Lindon, Utah Temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, presently under construction. I do not speak on behalf of the church, but only speak as a resident of the city. And here is superimposed on 835 East an arrow that shows what a driver would be looking at when they're driving down 835 East toward the temple.
Stephen, may I
Yeah.
ask you, can you pull the microphone a little closer?
I can.
So we can catch you a little
Yeah.
better. Thank you.
So this is a view of 835 East as one would see it driving southward from 400 North toward the temple. And it shows the present status of construction of the temple. And that is the north elevation of the temple inserted to scale, taken from the architect's rendering that's on the city's website. If you go down the street a little bit further, there's the present construction of the temple, and that's the superimposition of the architect's rendering. And then even closer, getting toward 140 North, that's the present construction status. And that's the view that one would see if the architect's rendering were superimposed. And this simulates a nighttime view. Now, some options that are available to the city.
Do some renderings.
These are some options that are available to the city as I perceive them. You may think of others, of course. I pitched the idea to Mayor Lundberg, suggesting to her that the view was what the prior slides showed, namely what drivers traveling down 835 East would see. And so my proposal is to add Temple View to that portion of 835 East from 400 North down to 140 North. Mayor Lundberg added the thought that the added name could extend even further south along
9th East.
900 East, thank you, to 200 South, 2000 North. And I like that suggestion, even though the meaning of the word view would happen to change a little bit, because on that portion of the street, the view would be what residents who have homes on the west side of that city would see out their back windows. But if you get to the bottom of 140 North and look over the little ponding basin there, or especially if you get to the corner of Center Street and 900 East, you see the following, which is quite a view of the temple. On the left, you can see the brick wall on this, rising out of the sidewalk. That's the Acherson home. And this is what the height of the structure would be. I have a neighbor, James Gaskin, who indicates to me that the tallest point on the steeple of this Lindon temple will be a couple of feet taller than the Salt Lake City temple. Here are some naming options that are available. A few we already know we will not pursue, at least if my proposal is accepted. Note the two street signs on the bottom. They only have words, no numerical designation. The city, I'm confident, does not want to abandon the numerical designation. That's foreign to my proposal. The top four options are the ones that are relevant in my mind. In the upper left, we see Wind River Lane, and that serves as a subtitle to 50 North. In the upper right, we see Wind River Lane, one word, is the main name with the numerical designation below it. Most of the signs have dual naming, using the numerical designation at the top in larger lettering with the word below it in smaller lettering. So we could have, for example, this is my mock-up, 835 East shouted in large letters, and Temple View Lane or Temple View Drive or Temple View Avenue in smaller print below it. Or simply take away the word lane or the word drive or the word avenue. Or we could have the words themselves be at the top in more prominent lettering and the numerical designation less prominent. This is totally an option either way. One resident has suggested that instead of lane, it be drive, and that sounds like a very good proposition. Or just simply take away drive or lane or anything, avenue, and just have Temple View, 835 East, which I like. The county seems to contemplate 11 street types, and the ones that seem appropriate for this proposal are street, drive, which seems appropriate, way, or lane. Lane's my personal preference, but that's getting old by now, or avenue. And some council members or members of the public might sense some concerns, but whether they be concerns about the delivery of mail and packages or the addressing of envelopes or having a home business address on your letterhead or whatever it is, there probably will be no legal concerns about church-state issues, and I think they'll all evaporate, as I'll show you. I'm not speaking as an attorney, just as a member of the public. The numerical designation of 835 East or of 900 East will remain, at least as I propose it. And the name Temple View would be added. So FedEx, UPS, the United States Postal Service, and the others who deliver packages, they all can deal with the existence of a street name as opposed to a numerical number on the street, especially if you have both of them available. If we take 835 East as Temple View as an example, it will have both the numerical and the word designations, some combination. And here are some examples that show other possible concerns that are easily resolved in my mind. This is Mission Dolores in San Francisco on the left, and the large cathedral on the right. It's on Dolores Street, which runs parallel with Mission Street. Both of them are named after Mission Dolores. And Mission Dolores extends for 2 miles north and south adjacent to Mission Dolores. And Mission Street itself extends for 9 miles, even beyond the southern boundary of the city. This is the Baltimore Basilica, the nation's first Roman Catholic cathedral in Baltimore, Maryland, and it's situated on what is called Cathedral Street. That extends for 4.8 miles north to south in Baltimore, Maryland. The Washington National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. gives rise to the name of the street on which it is located, namely Cathedral Avenue, extending 3.5 miles east to west. And even if you go outside the United States, you can go to Cochin, India, and there's Synagogue Lane with its Jewish synagogue depicted in the white building there. It's located in what's called Jewtown, giving rise to the name of the street, Synagogue Lane. In August of 2021, during the pandemic, Salt Lake City added a name to 1110 South Street between Main Street and State Street, and the city gave to that street the added name Pastor France Davis Way. In addition to the construction of a temple within the boundaries of our municipality, the website called Online Utah reports that in Lindon there are 24 Latter-day Saint congregations that meet at 9 locations within the city limits. But we should remember that there is the Fellowship Bible Church at 400 North State Street. And as a gesture of goodwill and friendship at some time in the future, if someone were to propose a street sign modification acknowledging the presence of that community member, it might be premature to do anything now, of course, for there'd be uncertainty at first. Would it be plaza, court, place? But maybe someday a proposal could be responded to that would perhaps show a street sign with an arrow pointing to the right for Fellowship Place. And probably you would want to add an arrow pointing to the left that shows that 400 North actually goes eastward. And around the world, there are many municipalities that acknowledge the presence of temples of the Church of Jesus Christ in appropriate street names, either for streets that are adjacent to the temple or on which the temple is situated, such as Tempelstrasse in Zollenkhofen, Switzerland, for the Bern, Switzerland temple. The Bountiful Utah Temple is situated near a street called Temple Hill Circle. Cedar City has Temple Cove Drive. The Columbia River Washington Temple has Temple Meadow Lane. These are all streets that are either next to or adjacent to or point to the temple in question. Idaho Falls, Temple Place. Indianapolis, Indiana Temple has Temple Drive. Jordan River Temple, interestingly, has South Temple Drive, which extends for 3 miles, and Temple Vista Lane, which is across the street from the entrance to the temple property. Las Vegas Temple is located on Temple View Drive. Logan Temple is on the east border of the Logan, Utah Temple is a residential street named East Temple Heights Drive. The Madrid, Spain Temple is located on Calle del Templo. The Manila, Philippines Temple is located on the street with an English language name, Temple Drive. The Meridian, Idaho Temple has a 1-mile-long West Temple Drive. The Palmyra, New York Temple is located on Temple Road, probably out in the middle of nowhere. And a residential street on the north border of the Payson, Utah Temple is named West Temple Rim Lane. The Portland, Oregon Temple is bounded by Temple Way. The Preston, England Temple is located on Temple Way. The Provo, Utah Temple has 3 streets surrounding it: North Temple Drive, Temple Hill Drive, and Temple View Drive. Salt Lake Temple, of course, is bounded by North Temple, South Temple, and West Temple streets. Snowflake, Arizona has South Temple Circle. Star Valley, Wyoming Temple is surrounded by Temple View Loop, which is probably a small private road that surrounds the temple, but it has that name. The Twin Falls, Idaho Temple is bounded by North Temple Drive and South Temple Drive. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to entertain them, but that's my proposal.
That was a very comprehensive and in-depth presentation.
Sorry
Thank you.
about that.
No apology. Wonderful. All right. Council, any questions or thoughts about this proposal?
Just wow. I think I'm going to just say that for everybody. Thank you so much for all this hard work.
You bet.
Absolutely.
Our fire chief left, but I was going to ask him, and police, I don't know if that impacts response times. I wouldn't think so. But
Things we did not have up on the screen, but is in our packet on page 28 is input from residents. So I had asked Mr. Ehat to get some input from the residents that live on this street.
Yeah.
And it looked like, council, if you want to review those
No,
comments.
no no's,
It looked positive.
3 or 4
Yeah.
neutral.
Let me express gratitude to Lucky and Tammy Morse, who live on 835 East, for gathering that information from the residents there. And she submitted it to me and to the mayor. And it did seem very positive.
Well, I must acknowledge our former mayor, Acerson, who's giving a couple thumbs up. To the people. And to the people. Okay. Mayor Acerson was, as we know, quite instrumental in a temple site being selected here in our community. And this would be adjacent. You would be one of the residents of this potential Temple View lane or drive or way. And how would you feel about that?
Molto bene, molto bene. I might add that there's a very short street to the north of Center Street, across the street from the temple. It's 900, excuse me,
Like 850 or something.
850.
Yes.
850 East. It doesn't directly.
The cul-de-sac.
Right. It has 10 homes on it. It doesn't directly face the temple. It's just a little bit askew. But if the city wanted to consider expanding the proposal to include that street, then what you would need to do is if you used Temple View, you'd change it from lane to court or something like that, so that it would be different from the other two streets.
Very good.
Mayor, did you have something else to say? Mayor Acerson, sorry. Ex-Mayor Acerson.
I just,
Former.
I just thought, let's change the street in front of the Rome Temple. Let's do it.
There you go.
Let's just,
Let's do it.
I think
This
Stephen's
presentation
hired.
here, I mean,
Go
my
right-
goodness.
You and I can go there
Over.
and present it to the city
I
council.
mean, how do you not at least consider it? I mean, it seems like there's no harm or damage.
That's right.
It's probably, in reverence, I mean, it's something to designate something that's pretty unique and viewed as a good thing in a city, so.
And I like your acknowledgement of the other faiths in the community, and, you know, that the Bible Church, there will be potentially a road going by them in the future.
Okay.
That's on the Street Master Plan, and I love your suggestion of them having an opportunity for that as well.
Good.
So, yes,
The city actually owns a church. You realize
the
that?
small,
the blue
small
one.
building will be torn down, yes, and a road punched through there, yeah. Exactly.
We know all too
We
well.
know,
Yeah, we know
all
too
too
well.
well, it
Well.
flooded, had a sewer backup recently, so.
I guess my question is to Adam. Adam, do you have any unintended consequences? Is there any reason from staff we would hesitate on something like this?
The only issue is just we don't want to force address confusion or delivery problems. We don't want to have people changing their name or address. That is a process that you have to go through with the Postal Service, and there's a lot to that. And so keeping the street number.
Numerical.
Yes, the numerical number, and then having this as a supplementary name, I think would be the preferred action there. We've renamed a couple of the streets in front of schools in the last decade.
There's some
and-
streets
That's
up in
just
Canberra
supplemental.
Heights that have
And so
also,
we've,
yeah.
we've added a name
Here are
to their,
our
as
Center
their
Street,
mascots to the schools, and so.
but here are Lindon Center Street, it's now Lindon Center
Center
Street,
Street,
as
correct.
according to UDOT, and that was a complete name change.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
So just as an FYI, in your staff report, we listed if this were to run from 200 south all the way up to 400 north, there are between 900 east and 835 east, 13 new street signs that would be needed. Our Public Works Department estimated the cost of those signs and the implementation, putting them in, be about $1,055, so.
Can I make a
Right.
suggestion? Yeah,
And not per sign.
yeah. Can I
Chief
make a sug-
Sanderson, you're the expert on calls going out for EMT services. Does this create any complication with what you see in Orem or other communities that you serve?
No, I mean, initially, just making sure that you guys understand that, but I will assure you that whatever you name it, we'll find it quickly. So I don't see it being an issue.
Okay, wonderful.
Mayor, can I make a suggestion? Because 835 and 900 both have different numerical numbers, that we have a name that's different for each of those sections. One might be, for instance, Temple View. The other one, I kind of like the one that Logan uses, the East Temple Heights, something along that reflects the fact it's on the east side of the temple versus the Temple View. And because they're two different numbers, they would have two different names, still with temple in it, but something very different from each other, because even though it kind of goes the same way, it has a different number on it. So that would be my
That's a great
suggestion.
suggestion. That they do, but they do jog, and they're one contiguous movement, and there's, in the jog,
Correct.
the numbers change a little bit
Yep.
too,
Yeah.
so.
Let me address that. That is a very good suggestion, and as long as the word temple remains the
Correct.
common denominator for those 2 or 3 streets, then you should have everything fall into place quite nicely. I would mention one thing about the jog that you mentioned, just for purposes of keeping your conversations clear. 140 North, which comes down the street, when it hits 900 East, and then you turn right to go up to 835 East, that portion between the bottom of 140 North and 835 is also 140 North. You'll see that on the
Correct.
street sign there. So where you make the transition from the name of one to the other, is up to
Could be
you.
a
My
little
suggestion is
twisting.
that once you've come down 835 East and you get to the point where you will be turning left onto 140 North before it goes down to the very bottom of 140 North, it's at the top of that hill where you would stop naming it as Temple View in that sense, and then
Yes.
change it to whatever else that you might
And I'm
want.
sure there's 2 or 3, 4, 5 homes that are in that little area that it will come under it'd be more important for the public safety, those who are delivering, that area remains 140, and that we keep one as Temple View, and I'm for Temple Heights or East Temple, whatever we make the other one. I mean, just as
Yeah.
that we don't name that section of 140.
In fact, what you just mentioned there prompted me to think for the first time, East Temple Way, for example,
Something like that.
for that portion of 900 East that goes down to 200 South. Just a thought.
Just on the east side of the temple, so that made some sense. With the Logan one, the Temple Heights.
While you're at it, just rename Center Street. No, just kidding.
Oh, we've done that.
I heard that.
Yeah. But I do like your 850 that comes right into the temple there off of Center Street, something like that. I
10
don't know.
homes there, one street sign. It would probably
They
be.
probably have the most impact of anybody in the city outside of that corner where the mayor is. Mayor Asherson, I should say.
Well, council, this is a review and action item.
Motion, if there's no additional comments.
I like it.
I'd like to make a motion to approve adding a supplemental roadway name, whether it be Temple View to 900 East and 835 East streets, that can be determined at a later point, and any recognition on maps of the temple being constructed.
Do you need a
As presented.
specific name, Adam?
I
Yes.
would appreciate you picking a specific name tonight.
Daryl, it's you, buddy.
Temple View, what I put
35.
on 835,
Okay.
and Temple,
East Temple. No.
It could be one name as it is all contiguously wines, or break it up.
I would suggest it's two different names, but I don't know what that second one would be at this point. Does Lincoln have a proposal since he's on that street?
I think it would be confusing because it changes back and forth, but maybe not. I haven't thought about this the whole time. It's great.
Look what you do here, Lincoln.
And I do like the number on top and with
Yes.
the name underneath.
Very,
I like Temple View Lane. I don't mind.
for the
saying.
whole thing, just as it wines
It'd be
or separate.
835.
I like Temple View Lane as well, for
On-
835, and then very open to
To
whatever
900?
On 900.
You don't want 400 to be named? Oh, I'm teasing.
We do, just as an FYI, we do have streets that are named that cover various numbered
Right, they can
addresses.
flow across
So,
different places.
not uncommon.
What if we did East Temple View Lane? Temple View Lane and East Temple View Lane, or is that too confusing?
I used to live in that neighborhood myself for 15 years, and the road just kind of feels like it's one and the same for many people, because you don't really have another option. Even though they do have that jog and the numerical address, it really just feels like one street in a way, as for me, it feels natural to potentially be one name, but I don't,
And I'm
it
okay
doesn't
with
matter
one
to me
name
either
for
way.
sure.
Either way is right.
So Temple View Lane, is that comfortable for everyone?
I like it.
That'd be my
If anyone feels strongly otherwise.
haven't heard from
Motion.
you. You're all right with all this?
Yeah, I think we should have two names, though.
two names.
It would be.
I don't feel passionately either way.
Do you have a suggestion on what a name? East Temple View or East Temple?
Way.
East Temple, take the view out because there's less of a view on East Temple?
That's my thinking, yeah.
So Temple View Way and Temple View Lane. They're both east streets already.
That would be East Temple Way.
Just to name it that versus, and on 400 East. I like that.
There's the man that asked, right there.
We would love it.
And it's one that complicates it. What I would suggest is come up with an assortment of names that you're comfortable with. And maybe, and I know this prolongs the decision,
We have a long time before it's done.
but have the residents that live on that road
Weigh in.
weigh in on what they would prefer or what they think is what, because they live there.
Kind of like we just did on ice cream.
These
just
are
did ice cream
tough,
flavors for
tough
Lindon.
issues tonight, let me tell you.
So you have to get Lucky and Tammy Morse to continue their service.
And it's just a thought. but
Yeah,
I
good
think
thought.
It's one that if they live there and all of a sudden it changes, they go, maybe
I didn't get some input on that.
I think the former mayor could probably get responses within about 2 hours.
well, we've got one right there.
Behind you.
LJ.
Oh, yeah, LJ, and we have 3 residents right here that live on that street.
First of all, I think, I agree with changing the name. I didn't know that was 140 North when you make that jog around that park. I thought that was all 900 to 835, I don't know what.
Yeah, I did too.
It should be all one, whatever. It's, I think the same road, but I do like the numbers. I think the gentleman sitting next to numbers on top and the top view below. I've tried to find various boulevards or other cities without numbers, and it's impossible.
Hard.
Unless you're a very good technician and you have great instruments in your car to tell you how to follow GPS or whatever. So anyway, Temple View, I like Temple View Drive, but I think he's got
A drive kind of lends itself to that you're gonna maybe meander a little bit, right?
Can I say that
Okay.
I would be opposed to anything avenue-ish? Just for the simple fact of, I think that just for the residents alone, it would make it feel like it's more than it needs to be, so.
Right.
That it's too much of a thoroughfare, so.
Adam, for the sake of the meeting, if I were to make a motion allowing for this public feedback to happen and giving maybe the mayor the final say
Oh,
once
gosh.
it's been received from that, or we could.
Well, or
I
we
like-
could continue it as well with the action item.
I
as
do
well.
like the fact that having those who live on it have some skin in the game.
I do like that
And
as
it just
well.
makes them feel, they're going to be impacted by this, by the traffic, and I think to have some skin in the game will help alleviate that to some small degree.
So do I clarify the,
Come forward again,
work?
Stephen.
And I'm happy to help do that. This is my ward.
Is it?
On one side and Lincoln's on the other.
Should we continue it one
Stephen.
item, 1 week?
I
Stephen.
might add that when Lucky and Tammy Morse interviewed the people on 835 East, it was one of the residents there who suggested that rather than use the word lane, as I had proposed, use the word drive. And I thought that was a very good suggestion, and that might end up being the
Take care
result.
of the different segments.
Right.
To be,
Yeah.
okay, well, very good. So, I entertain a motion here, Jake.
I'd like to express appreciation to Mr. Ehat. Thank you. This is exciting, and I think you see full support for your idea. But I would move that we continue this item to the next council meeting with the request that together with residents, Councilmember Broderick, and Mayor, that you bring it back and we make a decision in our next meeting.
I'll
right.
second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Hoyt, seconded by Councilmember Magalby. Any further discussion of this motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. Okay. Yes.
Probably out of order, but just some history. I put that road in to connect, and there are people that love me and people that hated me. So just know,
Love
change is
now.
not always welcome, but I think in this case, you should be just fine.
Everyone in this room loves you.
Always.
All love. We appreciate you. All right, thank you so much. That was for that great detail and those that were here to pipe in on that. And this is a fun agenda item to get to discuss tonight. Sometimes we have to do things that are a lot harder and potentially contentious or just, deep in the weeds of finances or whatnot. So we appreciate this. This is great, and this adds to just a great spirit in our community. So thank you for that, Stephen. All right. That brings us on to item number 9, This is a public hearing over the fiscal year 2024 transfer of enterprise funds to the general fund.
I'll make a motion to open a public hearing, Mayor.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Powell to open a public hearing. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Broderick. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we now are in a public hearing, and our administrator, Adam Cowie, will lead us out.
So this is an action item, this is just a public hearing that you're only required to accept public comment. You actually don't make a decision on this until you adopt the budget in a future agenda item here tonight. So the state code requires that we have to notify the public and hold this public hearing to accept comment on any proposed transfers from our enterprise funds, being our solid waste collection fund for garbage, the stormwater fund, sewer, water, and telecommunications funds. Any of those transfers that we have traditionally done to cover administrative costs and overhead of operating those enterprise funds, which run as a separate, independent business within the city. We transfer that money into the general fund, and then it's therefore used for other services, police, fire, street maintenance, parks and rec, anything that may fit within the general fund. This year, we are not proposing transfers from the water and sewer funds, given some of our past discussions and the fund balances that we have in those. We are not proposing any of those transfers to help with some other projects and things that are needed in those funds. So what we are proposing this year, the solid waste collection fund, $28,400 transfer. Stormwater drainage fund is $105,672 transfer. Telecommunications, $2,000. Any questions on that information?
And Adam, we always have some questions from the public each year as these notices go out. So just for the record, you do a great job kind of summarizing the reasoning behind and how these are substantiated in these transfers. If you could state.
Yes,
really
and
quickly.
so as I had mentioned there previously with these are enterprise funds that are supported and stand on their own. And so we collect revenues from fees for these various funds, and the intent of our policies as a city and other entities throughout the state is for these funds to be self-sufficient. And they are actually tracked and accounted for differently than our other governmental funds. And so as an enterprise revenue generating business within the city that the city runs, so these entities essentially contract with the city for its services. And so our buildings, our vehicles, our employees and personnel, these are administrative and overhead charges essentially back to these enterprise businesses for those services that the city provides. Does that
Thank
help?
you. Excellent.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was hoping for. All right, council.
Ready to hear from the public.
All right, this is a public hearing, so we will welcome any questions or comments from the public here this evening. Mary Asterson.
Come up, or can I just say it from here?
We'd love to have you come up. We have these online and recorded now, so catching it in the microphone is always really helpful.
It's nice to be at this end of the table. So Jeff Acerson, live at 910 East Center, Lindon, Utah. The question.
Temple View Lane.
Yeah.
Drive.
You get to decide that, but the question, are these other funds that you're pulling those monies from because you're assessing them because of the other broad services that you provide to them, are they sufficient? Are they in good position, or is it just a matter of transferring those funds because it's deemed that you're providing those services to those different enterprise funds?
That's a great question. For most years, they are sufficient and deemed that there is enough money in those. This year, we are looking at some substantial projects in sewer and water, and we are not transferring any of these administrative funds. In fact, the city is actually proposing a transfer of additional general funds into one of those. And so It depends on the year. In the last decade, we have always made a transfer based on these administrative and overhead charges.
I knew that was the common practice, I just didn't know how those fund balances are doing, but
Yeah, so we are watching those balances in each of those funds. This year, we are not transferring from the sewer and water fund.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Councilmember Hoyt, I have to give him some credit here, mentioned, we have to constantly increase fees to manage the increase of costs of running these, but also there's some substantial infrastructure that has to be refreshed and replenished that's aging out. And we looked at how healthy funds were and how we could hopefully help the residents and minimize increases in fees. And so it was a recommendation that actually we do the opposite and invest some general funds back into these enterprise funds to lessen.
Yeah, by not seeing all of the funds on there that we would normally see, and also this transfer from the general fund into these enterprise funds is really a little bit unprecedented, is really the subsidization of these enterprise funds by our general fund. And it's not something we've traditionally done, and it's something we see our sales tax revenues. We see specifically that sales tax revenue number of people from within our city and outside of our city coming, spending money, that it allows us to subsidize those utility rates that are always going up, those funds, and
we're blessed with a very healthy general fund at this time.
absolutely.
And we're also
So
blessed with a
because of those
council
things.
that are very good fiduciary stewards, and if they don't have to raise a fee or tax, they are happy to do that for our residents. So I have to commend our council on that. So that is a little bit different this year than business as usual in the past, so. Yes,
Just one more quick. You're aware that the 5th was passed? So that will bring more money into the roads in Lindon. So
correct.
Needed.
So the 5th, the county commissioners passed, this will be a new 5th of a 5th sales tax. So Lindon City, all the cities in the county will start to have funds, and some of the funds goes to public transportation, and it's shared with public transportation as well as local city road funds. So we can get
That's great news.
additional funds going there, so. All right. Okay, any further public comment on this item?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
All right, thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Broderick to close the public hearing,
Second.
seconded by Councilmember Powell. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we bring this back to you, council.
Yeah, just for discussion, right? I don't think
Mhm,
there's
for
any action
discussion.
that needs to take place. And, we do this every year. It's great to see not every fund giving back. That really is a subsidization. It is the city's employees offering their services essentially free to these enterprise funds. And I think it's great. I think we've reviewed that. We are comfortable with the philosophy of that taking place. And I'm ready to move on.
All right, very good. Okay, that brings us to item number 10. This is also a public hearing regarding the fiscal year 2024 final budget adoption, and we'll welcome our Kristen Colson-Aaron here to the,
I'd make a motion to
Hot
open a
seat.
public hearing.
Second.
okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Hoyt. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are again in a public hearing.
He'll be right back. We can start, I think.
Want me to open the?
No, I just was getting my bearings.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm
You
actually, I'm
you
going
can-
to start with the budget amendment. So not with the slides right away.
All right, so we'll just give a moment here while we get this technically set up and.
All right, so we're going to start with the fiscal year 2023 budget amendment. There was, it's the last budget amendment of this fiscal year, cleaning up some items to make sure that we're covered in areas that we need to be. And I don't know if you've had a chance to review this. So there's about 2 million changing.
What page
The-
are you on, sorry?
131, so 130, 131, 132, the notes. The biggest thing that is, that's contributing to that is 1.6 million for Canal Drive water project. We've decided not to do it this fiscal year, but to postpone it to next fiscal year. And also in the 2024 budget, it will actually be more. So it'll be 2.5 million. So taking that out of the budget is the biggest thing. So, does anyone have any questions on the budget amendment?
So we're going to look for that new bid come we'll start this fall for the new bid or
So we'll be
next year?
putting out that to bid this fall with hope that they can construct in the wintertime and maybe we'll get a better price. when
And we're
they're-
looking at segmenting it more, perhaps, or no?
We could cut out some of those cul-de-sacs that come off of Canal but we'll see what those bids come in.
And we
So-
were going past 400 North as far as Canal Drive goes, is that correct?
Where it connects on,
Yeah, in fact, sorry, you've got the mouse. If you,
Oh, sorry.
Quite a bit further.
It goes past 4th North,
off with the clicker
correct?
system.
correct.
So what's proposed is actually this plan.
Correct.
So,
Okay.
yeah, 400 North is right there, so there's some additional construction that could occur on areas further north of that.
But are those in the same failure rate as those on
Those roads are in
south?
really bad shape,
The ones that are north
all
of?
the way to where they come up to
Okay.
Fourth East.
The water line project replacement.
water
is
line's
only
separate
up
than
to
the road
400 North,
project.
Is that correct?
No, the water line replacement goes through the whole.
Oh, it does? Okay. All right.
But they both, the roads are in poor shape as well.
But I know that it was an early failure rate on the pipe, is that correct? And that's the one that goes all the way through past 400 North?
So that whole area has that hot soil in it?
And poor installation,
Okay.
the bedding was not correct, it was just bedded back with native soil.
Okay. Just double checking.
Also in the budget amendment is taking out the administrative cost transfers for water and sewer for the 2023 fiscal year. So those were advertised, but it doesn't mean that we have to do them. And so in keeping with our desire to help those funds out, we're not going to do those transfers in this current fiscal year.
Correct.
Take that back.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions on the budget amendment, then I will go back to the slides. Okay, so presenting the 2024 final budget. We've discussed this in meetings on March 20th when we adopted the tentative budget. April 17th, we had a work session, and May 15th, we adopted the proposed budget, and then we're here finally tonight to approve this budget to begin July 1st, 2023, to go through June 30, 2024. Looking at the fund balance report, this is pretty small, but looking at the general fund specifically, we would anticipate ending the fiscal year at 3.7 million, which is 28.2% of revenues. And the cap used to be 25%, so we're above that. It's now at 35%, but we don't want to be too close to that and get written up by auditors. So this is kind of a good, comfortable position. And then you can see the water fund is projected to end at 2.8 million and the sewer fund at 1.7 million. So. Okay. Then looking at our revenues, I've had questions on the miscellaneous revenue, and so I broke that up so that you could see how much were grants, how much was interest earnings. There's still miscellaneous revenue that is left over that's represented here, and that's like lease revenue and some of the centennial revenue that we anticipate getting in through donations and hopeful puzzle sales. And then with the water fund, there's hydrant and then building permit fees. And so that's, most of it's in the general fund. 476,000 of the 566,000 is in the general fund. Okay.
Thank you for breaking that out more.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
I know this is very tiny, but that little grant for the youth council, does that need to be added in to our budget?
We can do that.
It's just a small point. We have a new
Right.
$500 grant
Right.
award. Okay.
And I was told
just
that
found out
after
Friday.
this was
Sorry, we just got
completed,
the
and so-
notification
right.
Friday, so.
Yeah.
Right,
And-
so I can put that in officially in a budget amendment in October.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah, that's pretty typical where we'll have a
Some
budget
little-
amendment in October and then another one in the spring and then a final usually when we adopt the next year's budget, so.
Okay, very good.
All right, and then looking at changes in the fee schedule. We've been discussing this for utility rate increases. Water, 3% increase on base and water usage. In sewer, 7% increase on base and usage. In the stormwater fund utility, there's a 2% increase on rates. Garbage is 4.5% and recycling is 2%. And on those two, the fund is doing well enough that even though we had an increase passed through to us of 6.9% on garbage and 3.5% on recycling, we didn't need to fully pass that on to residents. So looking at a utility bill based on a single-family home between Geneva Road and North Union Canal, using 8,000 gallons of culinary water on a 1-inch meter, and that has pressurized irrigation and one garbage can and one recycling can. Based on those variables, they would see a $5.77 increase on their utility bill per month. So, and then the next couple slides show the actual changes in culinary water base rates and usage rates, garbage, recycling, sewer, storm. The other rate that would change is the certified tax rate, and usually we adopt the budget the second meeting of June, and we would have that amount, that exact rate. But we're adopting early this year, and it hasn't been set, so in the fee schedule, it will say as set by Utah County. And that's what we've always done in the past. Whatever rate they tell us is the rate that we adopt. And the only time we've ever done different is when we actually did a property tax increase and did truth in taxation, which we are not doing this year. And I hope to get that rate the end of this week. That's what they're anticipating. Usually they get it out to the cities by June 8th, and they are a little bit slow getting the assessor information, and but they're still hopeful on getting that information to the cities by June 8th. Okay. Then looking at expenditures, citywide, there's 34.4 million in expenditures, and it's pretty close to thirds between personnel, operations, and capital. And looking more specifically at personnel, we're proposing a cost of living allowance increase effective July 8th of 4% on their wages and 2% one-time payout based on factors, but one main factor being the inflation, the consumer price index. And then a merit increase of 1 step on the pay scale, which would be effective January 6th, 2024. And that would depend on employee evaluation scores. And we usually come back in December just to make, to see how the economy's doing. So even though it's in the budget, doesn't make it automatic. We usually come back in December to City Council just to make sure that we're still wanting to do that. So the cost for both the COLA and the merit increase in salary and benefits is $512,000 for the year. And then you can see most of that is in the general fund. Okay. Insurance premiums increasing 5.5%, and that cost it will increase the benefit allowance for the year for $49,625. New positions that are included in this budget are police officer, water system operator, stormwater operator, and HR generalist. And last time that we were here, we discussed it being a full-time position, and so in this budget, it's been changed to a part-time position. And then also added in this budget is changing the position of the emergency management coordinator from part-time to full-time.
Is that a 30 or 40-hour part-time, a full-time?
In the budget is 30 hours.
It is a 30.
Yes, but it can be changed if that's what you want, so.
So we did, and maybe you'll get into this, Kristen, Chase did prepare a memo that's in your staff report there and broke down those different pricing options between that 30 and 40 hour on that position.
That was very helpful.
Yep.
She's at 20 right now, right?
She's budgeted at 25, and she's actually been running closer to, she's a little over 30 so far this year. But she's on vacation right now. So
yeah, her average since January until just a couple weeks ago was about 31 hours per week. And so then she took off here for a family event and for several weeks, and so that'll bring that average down. But she's increased every year with the amount of hours that she's put in.
So we'll have, all the services we've gotten, all the things we've gotten from her have been amazing.
I'm assuming we've communicated well to her about our desire to have her stay. And
yes, I think she knows that this is a decision that needs to be made, and I'm certain that she would stay if it's made a 30 or 40 hour position, but if not, she may be looking for some other opportunities. So,
When do you want to discuss that? Do you want to discuss that now, or when we get to Chase's memo?
Now is, yeah, so I have on the slide the costs of the new positions, and then the last two columns are kind of for that straw poll of yes or no on each one.
I know we had discussed reaching out to other cities, potentially splitting costs. Any progress on any of those efforts?
of those that we've asked, Highland, Alpine, and Cedar Hills, there was some interest, but not a desire to go to that full extent of sharing an employee. Yeah. And so I've heard back from all three of those city managers. So no other cities that we know of that are interested in doing that.
Do they have plans in place already? Are they just not filling the need that
There
we
was,
see?
it was mixed. Highland's response from their city administrator indicated there was some concern that an emergency manager, if it was a broad event, would be tied up in Lindon and not available for their needs, and I get that. And that seemed like that was their primary concern, was if we were sharing somebody between entities, that in a catastrophic big event, they would be focused in one city and not another.
And they're
so
willing to have none rather than split.
they were looking at getting somebody likely at some future date, but that wasn't in their current budget year.
When I
so.
spoke with Alpine, they run on such a lean budget. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not an option. And then Cedar Hills was very interested, but then they discovered that with their contractual agreement for emergency services with American Fork, they can kind of piggyback on American Fork's EM person, so.
Can you
Yeah.
scroll down, Kristen, just a little bit on, go to that next. Let's see, keep going. This is Chase's memo, and then go to the end of this. I think we included, there was a breakdown of other entities and who has, there it is right there, page 114. So this was a list of entities that the chief put together for Utah County and some of the universities here in the county, as far as full-time or part-time, whether or not they have an official designated position. All of the entities have to designate somebody to be over this stuff. And so, and that was also listed as that it may be the police chief or the fire chief, or other personnel that are handling some of these things, so.
I know Woodland Hills, those small, Carrie Malkovich, she's talked to me about this before, and she takes on a lot of responsibility as a council member and having done a ton of work with all their fires and their floods, I mean, their landslides, mudslides. But Carrie has said that it has been a huge responsibility for her as a council member to take it on, even for this little municipality.
And Kelly has lent a lot
Yes.
of mentorship and support
Yes.
as well. I think, Kelly is just simply a stellar, she's a star in the county,
Yep.
in this arena, and she's a leader in the county. We're very lucky to have her, and so we know we're the best on our 9/11 drill. We have national recognition for that. A lot of that is a credit to her, and so.
I agree. I think as we've had these staffing crises arrive, the question we always, is it the right person on the right seat? Because we want to have the right people on the bus, and we want to have them in the right seat. And as we've made, as we've paid higher, as we've gone out of our way, as we've held emergency meetings to accommodate our star players, I mean, there's zero doubt that Kelly is a star, and she's great, and she's good at everything she does. I'm still just she is the right person, but is it the right seat on the bus? I just have such a hard time, as I've talked to other city officials, of a city our size having a full-time emergency management position. Just, I'm really still struggling with it, if I'm being perfectly honest, from a financial standpoint. And maybe it's just the process of swallowing this budget, which is a budget like we've never seen before. Maybe it's the addition of the additional fire employees as well. I'm still really struggling with this one specifically for a city our size, and personally would love to see it part-time, understanding that may mean that we lose one of our stars who, and again, Kelly is an absolute all-star, one of the best. So that's where I'm at.
So I'd kind of add some of the comments when we talk about each one of these positions individually. We love it, and we start, to get comfortable with all that, but then when you start saying, okay, we're gonna add 3.5 positions and take one of our part-times to full, that's a lot of personnel being added all at once. And then we try to prioritize to maximize the amount of funds that we have. We like using the term, we have a healthy general fund balance because we operate fiscally conservative, and that's what keeps it there. So, yeah, I'm probably uncomfortable adding this many full-time people and changing one from a part-time to full-time. Tough to prioritize for sure.
I so appreciate all of my fellow council members' thoughts and concerns, especially the concerns. It's been such a privilege for all these years to work with such fine individuals on making sure that our budget is what our budget is. I am so proud to have been a member of this council for this many cycles. I will say that I am so pleased also with the staff that we have here in this city, as I know all my fellow council members are. I'm grateful for the people I work with here and here. I don't think I would do this job if it wasn't in Lindon City. I have said this many times, I don't think I'd run for office in some of my neighboring cities if it was, because we do things so well here. And I'm so proud of that. And that being said, I'm so proud of what we offer our citizens. And I know this is a tough time. We've got the CPI that just keeps jumping. We've got all these positions that we need. We have a population that keeps expanding, and the needs of being able to service those residents. I see all of that. I see our concerns that we have here. I, for one, feel like it's needful, even though it's tight, it's tough, and it feels, I don't know, it's just a hard feeling to be able to make all of this work within our budget. So grateful for everything that Kelly does and some of the other staff that we'll be talking about. I just feel like our citizens deserve this. So that's where I stand, even though it's a very hard thing, but I feel like our citizens deserve these great individuals within our city.
So Mayor, maybe for purposes of just moving through this, so this is just what would be beneficial is if we could just do a straw poll vote on each of these positions. And doesn't mean you're voting yes or no for the entire budget. That would be at the motion at the end of this.
Correct.
But this is just to help us move forward. So if we could just do a quick raise of hands.
I appreciate that. I think that would be a great choice. I just would like to, I notice our chief is here. I just want everyone to be aware, you know, some of the things that we're taking for granted that are handled and done so well. You know, Kelly also works very seamlessly with our police department. She's not just doing emergency management. She's involved in a lot of other things and supporting the chief and some of the things that he's got to do. If she leaves, we need to recognize that there's going to be some things the chief he's able to offload to her that he can't handle, he can't cover. We'll see a little bit of reduction in maybe some of those things, and maybe that's okay. I mean, they're not life or death situation, right? So, and I don't know if the chief wants to mention anything. I know he addressed the council last time as well, what that could look like potentially. Could we find a talented part-time person? Certainly, perhaps, right? We know that we have someone who goes above and beyond with Kelly, so. All right, so with that said, straw poll, retain Kelly with a 30-hour per week and benefited position. I guess we'll yay or nay.
If I'm saying it correctly, she's already working
Part-time.
basically 30 hours. Short of increasing her wages, that would be, which we're not going to do, that would be a wash, in my opinion.
Except for benefits.
Well, that's the point I was going to make. Now we're talking about adding benefits to it, which I think was the whole point of the discussion. I feel like, you know, I was not real keen on it in our last discussions, but I think if we're already paying her for 30 hours, if she's working 30 hours, then she deserves to be compensated and treated as a 30-hour employee. I know it's more money in the budget. I recognize that. I appreciate that. I think, you know, we keep saying this, but, you know, with what we have coming into the city and the 5th of a 5th and all these other things, I don't feel like we'd have too much trouble absorbing those additional costs into the budget. And then we don't have to worry about finding someone, retraining them, and not getting someone of the quality that we have now. I think we're very blessed to have her, and it would be a nice gesture, I think, to let her know that we were willing to do this for her. So, yeah, so I'm okay.
That is a yay.
Well, are we doing it each individual position? How are you planning to run
We're
this?
just doing emergency management suggestion. Or did you want direction on all of these? Were you just
Direction
wanting
on
to?
all of them would be
But
helpful.
independently,
But
right?
independently?
Correct.
Let's just take
Start
one
with
at a
this one,
time.
yeah.
Let's just start with this one.
Really quick.
Question, Adam. Aren't some of those positions being required by, you and I had the discussion about Orem and
Our contract with them.
the contract we have with them and needing more personnel to be.
That's actually a separate, it's a separate line item
Okay,
in the budget.
that's what I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, so those are contractual costs that we have with Orem, and they are going towards new personnel, but those personnel work for the city of Orem. They don't work for us, so. So, really quick, Kristen, can you go back to that last page of Chase's memo? 113, there you go. And maybe zoom in on that. So Chase broke down the dollar differences between our current budgeted 25 hours for this position, emergency management coordinator, 25, 30, and 40 hours. And then the difference in total benefits and total compensation, and just so you can see those numbers there.
So we're currently roughly paying the first line.
We are a little bit more than that. I think after this vacation she's had, we're probably gonna drop down to about a 28-hour average is what I would expect she'll probably come in at the end of this year. So by federal regulations, we can't go 30 or more without having to pay benefits. We are required by the federal regulations to pay after 30-hour yearly average. And so she may work 80 hours one week and then nothing for the next couple of weeks. And so we're looking at that annual yearly average. But as I mentioned before, we ran the numbers, and just since January up until just a couple weeks ago, she's averaged about 31 per week.
All right, so moving on. So we have one straw van.
Again, I don't understand what we're voting on. Are you starting on emergency?
Emergency
as
management,
opposed to-
emergency management,
I'm for
apologies.
keeping it at 30 hours part-time.
30 out, okay, 30 hours then.
So it would be under
30 and part-time.
Okay. Daryl.
This is being recorded, but I had a conversation with her father-in-law that stated that her husband has full-time benefits, and he was concerned that why she needed them with the city. So I'm concerned about her need to have that, where her husband currently has that. Do you know anything about that, Chief?
I'm not gonna go into personal issues that's going on there. All I can say is from my my point of view is yeah, she's consistently at 30. She does quite a bit, and as some have stated, I'll have to pick up some slack if we don't hang on to her, and I do delegate some things to her that she helps with that aren't technically emergency management related, but due to her quality skills and abilities, I delegate some tasks to her. So that would kind of benefit. I would have to try to delegate somebody else or take those on myself, which I'm running pretty thin with staff. We're keeping it efficient as we can. With these additional things that she's running with CERT and everything else, she's gradually come up to that 30. I mean, she's worked herself into that because of these programs that we're running in the city. So I understand where you guys are sitting. I do. That's just what I'll add my input to it, but I don't want to get any personal issues on why she needs the benefits.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you without getting into personal issues. If I'm reading between the lines, there may come a time, and this could be in anybody's situation, there may come a time when those benefits might not be available to her.
Sure, yeah, and the dynamics and her future, I'm not sure. All I know is is she's needing to move that direction where she has employment that has that, so.
Okay.
I would support the benefit package with Kelly.
All right, Jake?
I think what's hard is it's Kelly. It's only because it's Kelly. Kelly might not be here next year, 2 years, 3 years. She may change her life plans, and we will be stuck with a full-time emergency management position. And yes, we can go back and change those, but we know how government works. We don't go back and change them. And we certainly can. It just seems like good financial times, it's decisions where you get yourself in trouble. And I just feel like it's a want, not a need, and I'm a no.
All right.
I'm an absolute yes, and as a benefit package for Kelly, if the needs to happen, I'm confident that the future council would go back, or our city administrator, our chief of police would go back and move this to the right level that we needed to come back with a different personnel situation in the future. But yes, I'm a full support of Kelly and a benefit package for her. So that's where I stand.
All right, we have
So
a 3-2.
Let me just clarify then, I hate to belabor this. For those that said yes, is that 30 or 40 hours?
30.
So is that,
30 with benefits.
I'm suggesting 32.
is that
30.
That's not even on the-
yes?
Well,
30 also,
also,
as well.
Okay.
Not 32.
Not 32. Left, yeah, right.
Correct.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next position there.
Police officer.
110, there you go.
all right, we'll go to the top then. You want to straw poll on that as well?
And I'll let the chief jump in here.
Right.
So this is something that we've been, these next three positions, police officer, water system operator, and stormwater operator, are ones that we've looked at for several months. We've brought these up in the February budget kickoff meeting as positions that were needed by each of these areas or departments. With police, we've run into some issues repetitively over the years of needing to keep at least 2 officers on each shift, and trying to manage and balance that work when we have somebody with injuries or vacations or leave time requests. It's been a challenge. We've ended up with a higher overtime hours in some years than others, and just some unexpected things. Somebody with a knee surgery that they're out for 3 months, or some things like that have been difficult. And so this is providing an additional individual that will help us both reduce overtime, but also provide that needed coverage so that we aren't burning guys out and that are filling those slots. And again, this is something that's repetitive. This has been a challenge even with prior chiefs, something that I've heard. So definitely I would consider this as in that need category. Anything additional, Chief, that you wanted to say on that?
No, just real briefly, just also with the supervision, this'll, our current sergeants, they're running day and night, overseeing the crews. They're not able to be impactful to training, coaching, supervising. So this will kind of help free up at least 2 of their days during the week to help with that, other than just taking calls and responding. So I just want to add that part.
All right. Any additional questions, council, on this position? And okay, straw poll, start again. Okay, yes, Daryl?
Yes.
Yes, okay, that's all 5, thumbs up.
For the water and stormwater, I'm going to just cover both of these at the same time. These are entry-level positions that we're growing, we're expanding. We've added miles of new infrastructure as we grow and expand as a city. Our water guys, they're stretched thin. This has been a challenging year with this secondary meter project for sure, but we continue as we age. We have some areas that are just struggling with water breaks. Stormwater maintenance is another growing concern as we've seen increased needs and regulations through the state and the federal government to manage stormwater properly. And again, two positions that Juan has brought up last year, and then we've carried forward into this budget kickoff. Anything additional, Juan, that?
Help is greatly appreciated. We're trying to be more of a proactive department rather than reactive, and trying to catch things before they break and to give the proper maintenance to PRVs, to valves, to fire hydrants.
Would you remind me, my memory fails me sometimes, often actually, but didn't a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago, was this wastewater or was it just water? We had someone, a position that was going vacant, and then we consolidated that position and made it into one position. Was that water or wastewater?
It was both. We consolidated from 4 superintendents to 2 superintendents. And then as those superintendents are now managing 2 divisions, those guys used to go and be part of the crew. But where I have them actually seeing more things, we're cutting the cost at the top and trying to add some workers at the bottom.
Some more, yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks for the clarification.
So I know Jake mentioned that we don't ever do that, but we do try to carefully evaluate the budget, and we have cut positions in the past or consolidated, and so just so you know, I got to give you a wink on that. So,
Speaking of
but Juan has actually done a great job on that, and so we recently just had another superintendent retire, and we will not be filling that position, and so that is another factor to consider as we look at these 2 new positions. So
Right, so Gary Taylor's position.
So as Gary retired, he was working in the engineering and also taking care of the cemetery full-time. Now we're dividing all that position that Gary held between 3 different employees to cover the cemetery and do all the signs and street planning for the engineering department.
Okay, so it's a net 1 increase versus 2 if you take that into account.
Yeah, we're actually saving a little bit of money by eliminating the Gary position and getting another person.
2 entry level.
2 entry level.
All right. Okay.
These 2, yeah.
All right.
Okay. On this HR generalist, we talked about this full-time, and honestly, after we presented this to you, we backed that off, and we are looking at splitting this between an assistant for the city administrator and an HR generalist, and we would really like to just start and see what we can find in the market with a part-time individual. There may be somebody that fits great and is looking for a part-time wage and time. This is something that we've split a lot of HR duties between multiple individuals, and consolidating this into one person is going to be of great benefit. Right now with Alan Walker at the pool, he's doing a lot of the hiring and the paperwork for all of those employees. We've got Rebecca, our treasurer, doing all of the onboarding. I'm handling a lot of the other items that are more policy related. And so consolidating a lot of this is going to be better for us as a growing city. It's going to relieve a lot of workload on others. And so if you're willing to entertain this would be greatly appreciated and a start, and we'll see where it goes. If we don't get any great leads, then we'll be back talking with you and see what other options we can go to.
Other questions on that?
No, I just appreciate the creativity of the staff trying to make it be as little as possible for the request. So I just appreciate that.
I know we have, in the past, you folks have done it sort of voluntarily, but I think tacitly we've sort of headed you that direction. You know, make more bricks, but we're going to give you less straw. I think you guys are pretty, you've been really great about spreading, trying to get everybody to help and pitch in, but it does reach a point, in my opinion, it does reach a point where it affects what you are hired to do, and it doesn't give you the opportunity to focus on that, and besides the fact, it'll just run you into the ground. So I don't really have any objections. I will vote for that.
Me too.
All right. Thank you, Adam. I think that's that's a credit to Adam, and he's run the ship this long and worn a lot of hats, and he still will continue to wear a lot of hats, so be able to help.
Thank you.
All right, so we covered all those.
Yep, so that's the new positions. Also, another item in personnel for this budget is the salary study. In this budget, the mayor's salary was increased $4,000 per year.
Increases 4,000 or goes to 4,000?
Increases 4,000.
And thank you, that was not, thank you, council, for suggesting that. I'm humbled and honored for that little stipend.
Can I jump in on this next item
Yes,
here?
yes,
So this
from
is,
you.
this is a new issue, and I sent you an email on this today. I hope everybody is able to see that. Our Parks and Recreation Director, we would like to recommend moving that range, and this was not in the original wage study that we presented to you here a few months back. However, that is something, it's not in this budget. It is something that can be put in the budget without any detrimental financial implications. Our director has another opportunity, and we would love to retain him. And he does a good job for us, has built our Parks and Rec department. We had one prior recreation director that was here for just a couple years, and then Heath came on. I'm guessing that was 2010? 2011. And since has developed the community center into what that is, our senior center program, our parks and recreation programs, and has done a fabulous job. And I think he still has a lot more to give, Lindon. And I would like your consideration for moving that. Going to range 26. Can you scroll down to that spreadsheet, Kristen? This is still within 116. So on page 116, this is the second from the bottom listing, if you can scroll to that. And then, so it says there, the Parks and Rec Director currently on range 25. And if you scroll over then to the right, we are proposing this go to range 26. In the blue is highlighted. This is the percentage above midpoint that this new position would be. And if you can scroll down to that little bell curve chart just to the bottom left. There you go, and pull that into that full view. So our target as we're looking at this wage and salary study is to be in this blue area. We look at the midpoint of these pay ranges. This range 26 at 4.86% is within that target area of that -3 to +5 of the midpoint. So we're leading the market just a little bit, but not driving it to where we're at the top of those pay ranges as far as being competitive, but not driving the market. That's the goal. So I feel good about this. I hope that's something that the council can support. So any questions on that?
Yeah, I would just like to say again, as a new council member, that was one of my first assignments was being a liaison with Parks and Rec. And I think all of you have, Daryl and others have also had that same opportunity. And what I'm so impressed about you, Heath, is you're very innovative. You're always looking what can be the value add, how can you do it efficiently, taking care of. I think here in Lindon, our residents are absolutely blessed for our per capita open space and what has to be managed with the ship that you run, very tight ship, and the morale. You create such a fun atmosphere that makes the employees love being here because of, you're the candy man at the Candy Scramble, right? So he's the fun guy, but he also he's so professional. So we're a Tree City USA. I mean, I wish we could put together a list of the things that he's accomplished for our city. There are too many to go over. So anyway, he has an opportunity to leave us, And I think that what's being proposed here is not wouldn't be a bump that's an outlier by any means. And so just wanted to say that, and thank you, Heath, for giving us the opportunity to show some appreciation and how much you're valued.
Yeah, I shared with Heath today that Arizona's hot. You don't have any grass either, so I don't know what you'd be doing down there.
Rake the gravel instead of mow the grass.
Don't have to replace as many sprinkler heads, right? I started, my first run for office was in 2011. That was the year that Heath joined us. I've watched him for many years. I'll get emotional. He's one that I would do anything for. I'm so grateful that we have the opportunity to even have this discussion, that you are not just packing up and moving. So I'm grateful. I mean, okay, I can't look at you either. So you'd be one of the other ones, Adam. So, I've watched some of these people just kind of grow up here with us. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to tell you that we appreciate you with this. So thank you.
What an awesome city to work for.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
I agree. Right guy in the right seat on the bus. Just there's nothing we can't do.
I'm gonna get a jar right here. Right. Okay. Good job.
I like it.
Sorry, Kristen. 1:15. Is that where we're at on that?
I'm just going to actually continue
Go
on
thing?
this.
Okay.
So also in this salary study, where there's more positions, there's 20 additional positions proposed to be moved to higher pay ranges. This affects 30 employees. And so this is the detail on those on those positions. There's a lot of information on this chart, but this is in the budget. So taking out the two that we've just discussed, the fiscal impact is $60,710, and that would be effective July 8th. Actually, one of these positions has already been approved and effective in April. But.
And for anyone who's watching at this point, we have successive meetings beginning through the beginning of the year to get to this point, and just to kind of add clarification, none of these employees or individuals have requested increases. This is simply taking data that staff collects that's very empirical, and we're just trying to stay competitive to keep talent here, because these are competitive positions, and to keep our city operating with the services that we so enjoy, we're trying to retain excellent people and keep them in that sweet spot, that midpoint of where things are kind of moving and going. So, all right. Any further questions on that item?
All right, then moving to operations expenses in this budget. As was brought up before, the Orem City Fire and EMS, they are wanting to add one firefighter per shift. So there's 3 shifts, and they want to go from 3 people in each shift to 4 people in each shift. And so that's 1 additional person per shift, so 3 total. And in addition to that increase, they are also passing through 5% inflationary costs as well. And so the increase for next fiscal year's contract would be $316,888, or 17.7% of the contract. I don't know, did you guys want to talk about that at all? Because there's other things in the operations budgets.
We have our chief here, if you want to address. Chief, I know I looked at some of the internal communications. We've actually run a little bit leaner staff at our facility than is what traditionally operations like to have. If you could kind of share with us a little bit about that.
The contract has 4 employees at the Lindon station per platoon, a total of 12. We currently staff 5 at our Station 2
Okay, thank you.
and Station 1, and we staff 8 at Station 3. So Orem's currently averaging 6 at the 3 stations. Currently, the ask is in conjunction with Vineyard coming online full-time with a station in their area. So we're looking to just increase staffing levels to match that, to increase our availability to respond within your area. So just to level out the playing field as far as overall staffing goes. And if our minimum requirements at each station is 4 personnel. So at the point, one of your 12, I call them yours, ours, one of our firefighters from Lindon takes a day off, calls in sick, then we're sending personnel from other stations to backfill that, which then increases, much like Adam talked about, increased overtime to when we don't have adequate staffing to cover our needs.
And Orem did, as part of this change, in prior years, they've included a line item. They send a breakdown of all of their costs that are lumped into this contract amount. And they've removed we've added an overtime budget line item, and that's gone to 0 with this change. And so part of that intent was to help reduce overtime, and so they're reflecting that in their proposal. And so they are not including a line item for overtime.
What was that dollar amount?
It depends. I mean, 2 years ago, we were just over $1 million in overtime. This last year, I think we were gonna, this year, we'll probably just crest 600,000 number. And we've actually
For
changed.
just Linden City.
Oh,
Yeah.
we've never broken.
I think that line was about 30,000.
That sounds correct, but I'd have to pull that up, so.
Yeah, that would be the budget I'm talking about. It's the overall Orem Fire budget for all 4 stations.
But we felt with the intent of that being, you give us more personnel and we'll reduce overtime, and so they put that to 0, so I felt like that was a good faith effort, so.
It also allows us to provide an opportunity. You can see I've provided Adam numbers over the last few months, which we'll be showing you guys on a monthly basis. But in the event we have a full station staffed with 5 personnel, we have the ability to jump staff a second ambulance in Lindon's area, so that we send, rather than sending 3 guys on a fire engine and 2 on an ambulance to every single medical call, there are circumstances where we have multi calls at the same time. We could send 2 ambulances and 3 on an ambulance and still staff your fire truck and send 2 ambulances with that extra body, or vice versa. It just gives us some flexibility with apparatus, which we can't do with 4.
All right, well, numbers, yeah, it's tough to see these inflationary numbers that have happened everywhere across the board. So we've kind of have that inflationary increase in addition to the request for staffing. So council, do you have any additional questions or hear from Chief Sanderson?
I do not.
Okay,
I do for Kristen, but
okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
if you can help me out, if we go to page 108.
Yes.
Okay, we see that line item of COLA and merit increases of 512. And then we see going down to 109, the 49,000. And then my question really comes on page 110. With those 5 positions, where are these wages reflected? Are they reflected in any of these upper numbers?
So these positions would, they do factor into the COLA because that would change the starting wage.
Is that included in the 512,000?
For the COLA and merit increase?
Yes, these
Yes.
positions
Yes.
on that page that have the 388,000 roughly. And I'm going off of page 110.
So that's the total cost for those positions.
Yes, and
But-
so where are they in those other numbers?
They are a small part of the other numbers where this is just the cost of living and merit increases So if we were to not approve the COLA and merit, then those positions would be starting at a lower wage.
Yeah, I'm still not sure that I'm maybe saying it clear enough.
So on 108, that 512, those new numbers aren't included in there. That's what you're looking for. Are those numbers included in that? No, it's 512. If you're trying to get a total new number for employees, you need to take 512, which is COLA and merit for all employees.
And
You
then
need to
add-
take all of those new employees.
The 49, the 60, the 316, and the 388? Are we-
There's some overlap with the COLA and the
There would
new
be a
position.
small, potentially a single-digit percent.
So the ask is for $1.2 million roughly in increases in wage and benefits and positions. Can I just say, that's a really, really, really high number.
That's why.
It is, and as you look at this breakdown on where our expenditures are, though, we're still hovering around that 27%. And so as we're growing our revenues and growing as a city, we're trying to maintain a similar percentage of employee coverage for those services, but not exceed our traditional costs of our percentage of that total revenues. And so
We grow with the same on
we're
each.
proportionally
Proportionally, thank
growing
you.
with our revenues,
I
yes.
just think it needs to be understood.
Correct.
Let's see, also, other operational changes are, the Parks Department expenses are increasing this year due to installing security cameras in all of the parks. The Coronavirus Relief Fund has transferred all of the ARPA funds out, and so it's zeroed out this in the 23 fiscal year, so that's a big change in operations. So in general, most of the departments aren't changing their operational costs, so I'm just highlighting a few of the larger changes. The water fund operations budget will decrease significantly as the secondary water meter project finishes. And then just for a point of fact, the city has an annual debt service obligation of approximately $1.2 million. Any questions on operational costs? I can move on to the capital, and these have been in the last couple of presentations. The only change is in the water fund. We decreased the improvements to wells from $3,050,000 to $1,050,000 to spread this project over multiple years. Are there any other questions on the budget?
Just for the record, we did include the auditor's risk assessment. Were you going to get to that
Yes,
still?
I
Okay.
just wanted to, before we move on to the risk assessment, the fraud risk assessment, I just wanted to see if there's any other things that you wanted to talk about with the budget. All right. So the state auditor's office has this fraud risk assessment that we do annually. And our score for this year is 320 out of 395, which puts us at a low risk level, or potential risk level. So.
Does anyone ever get a 395? Probably not.
It may be a larger city that has the personnel.
Or separation of duties.
We're doing good on separation of duties. It's the like having a CPA and yeah.
Anything else? Any questions on the budget proposal? If not, we're probably ready for a motion on this, Mayor.
All right, I believe that this is also a public hearing.
Oh, yes.
So Now that you've concluded that portion of the presentation, we open this to the public. If there's any questions or statements the public might like to make, we'd invite you to come up.
I'll just add to what you commented during this portion of the meeting, that this is the best city I've ever lived in. I served as assistant city attorney for 5 cities in Central California, was born and reared in San Francisco, and ever since I moved here, I've been admiring the leadership and those whom you have recognized this evening. So congratulations on running a very good ship.
Thank you, Mr. Ehat. All right. Mr. Jacobs, welcome.
I echo what Stephen just said. Lindon City is a great place to live, and I'm really impressed with the 320 out of a 395, right? Good job. That's something to be recognized. And all of you tonight have gone through some tough discussions. But as a Lindon City resident, I'm very proud to live in Lindon and proud of all the work that you guys have done along the way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lincoln.
All right, any other public comment? All right, I'd entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Vanchery.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilmember Magleby. All in favor? All right, we're back to the council then.
Do we need more discussion, or would we like a sample, like a motion?
I'm ready for a motion.
Okay, I'll try a motion then. I'll move to approve ordinance 2023-8-0, adopting the fiscal year 2024, final budget and amending the fiscal year 2023 budget as presented.
That includes the increase for Heath.
That will be as amended.
Do you need her to state that specifically in her motion, or does that get coupled in with
Should we
the
need it as
presented?
presented or as amended?
Amended, let's go with that.
Okay,
So, thank
as
you.
amended, Kathy.
So I'd like to include that as part of that.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Powell, seconded by Councilmember Magleby. Any further discussion on this motion? All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, you now have a budget adoption for fiscal year 2024. We do. Okay, your work is just beginning, Kristen, right? Thank you very much, council and staff. We've been in the weeds of this for several months, and it's exciting times that we're so well supported. Thank you, all of you. We've been literally, we have weeds. Will you take care of the weeds now? All right. Okay, we'll move on to
We're on 11.
item 11. We're going to move on to the redevelopment agency meeting, RDA. So do I have a motion to recess?
Make a motion to recess the Lindon City Council meeting and start the redevelopment agency
Okay.
meeting, whatever.
Oh, wait, motion by Councilmember Powell. Do I have
Kathy
a
will fix
second?
it.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilmember Vanchery. All in favor to reconvene?
Aye.
Okay, we are now we need to do a quick roll call. We say aye.
Aye or present? Either.
Either one.
Aye
Okay.
is great.
Okay, I'll start with you, Mike.
Aye.
State your name, please, for the recording and the record.
Your full name.
Aye, Mike.
Dick Van Cherry, aye.
Van Broderick, aye.
Daryl McElwee, aye.
Carolyn Lundberg, aye.
Jake Hoyt, aye.
Randy Powell, aye.
All right, we are now in the RDA. Take it away.
We need to move on some minutes first.
Go. Go, man, go.
I've reviewed them. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from May 5th, the RDA minutes from May 15th, 2023.
Second those.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Hoyt, seconded by Councilmember Magleby. All in favor to approve the minutes?
Aye.
Okay, they are approved. All right, and then moving forward,
So this is item number 3. We need
sorry,
to
I
Open a
thought I
public
had
hearing.
it.
That's all right. I've got it up here too. so.
Yes, thank you.
I'll make a motion to open a public hearing.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Hoyt, seconded by Councilmember Broderick to open a public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're now in a public hearing.
So now we're going to approve or review the RDA budget. And we have 5 different districts now in this RDA fund. And only one is collecting tax increment at this time. But you can see there's still some with funds and still gathering interest, some expenses.
On the Lindon Park CRA, that will start once Kia is constructed and built. And just as a reminder, that was a single parcel only, so that's part of that CRA, so. And then we have the resolution that outlines that the RDA is going to contract with the city for its services, and then this is an agreement that is a transfer of costs for those services. Anything else, Kristen, that you want to indicate?
No, unless you have any questions.
All right, any questions, council? No, just a bit of housekeeping, right?
Make a
Oh,
motion
everything looks
when
in
we
order.
need to close the public hearing
Oh,
at some point.
well, let's give the public a quick opportunity. Any comments or questions from the public before we close the hearing on the RDA? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion by Councilmember Powell, seconded by Councilmember Hoyt. All in favor to close the public hearing? Aye. Okay. Council, entertain a motion for the RDA.
So there's a sample motion I have
There's one
highlighted
there
here if
on
you need.
Page 229 of your packet. And it's also on the screen.
220. Oh, yes, it is.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2023-3-RDA, amending the fiscal year 2023 RDA budget and adopting the fiscal year 2024 RDA final budget.
Second.
By Councilmember Powell, I'm sorry, Councilmember Hoyt, seconded by Councilmember Powell. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the Lindon RDA meeting and reconvene the Lindon City Council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Powell, seconded by Councilmember Vanchery to adjourn and reconvene. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are now back into our Lindon City Council meeting, and we are moving on here to item number 12. This is a review and action regarding our Planning Commission reappointment. So since Mike Florence is not here tonight, we'll have
Yeah, Sharon's been
Adam.
on for a long time, since I was actually on the planning commission side of things, and so this is her 6th term if she is reappointed. She continues to be voted by the planning commissioners as the chair each year, and I think has the support there. Mike really appreciates, Sharon comes in before every meeting and reviews the agenda with him, and goes through each item and makes sure she has a clear understanding of it. And he's mentioned several times that he really values that she's dedicated, she wants to make good decisions for the city. And so we're recommending, based on the mayor's suggestion, that we reappoint Sharon, and she is willing to continue doing that.
I had a nice conversation with Sharon, and she said she's happy to step down and let others serve. And I said, we are happy that you continue to want to serve. So, yeah,
I've encouraged her to run for city council, but she doesn't want that
I know.
type of opportunity.
She does a great job, but is sensitive to how long she's been there, and I'm thrilled that she will continue.
I'm thrilled she's willing, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm absolutely in favor of this.
Absolutely.
All right, sounds like a no-brainer. I'll entertain a motion.
I will make the motion
There you
then. I
go.
will move to approve the appointment of Sharon Call to the Planning Commission as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Magalby. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that sounded unanimous, but
Just really quick, Kathy, did you happen to have a letter that she can sign tonight? Okay, thank you. Number 13.
Okay, item number 13, this is also a public hearing regarding our election ordinance updates.
Make a motion to open a public hearing.
Second.
By Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Hoyt, to open a public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing, thank you.
Awesome.
Brian Hawes, council.
This should be a pretty quick item. We're just codifying, amending our election code to match the state's. Basically, what this is doing is it's establishing some requirements for the financial disclosure requirements for candidates for city council. If somebody doesn't file one, what happened, they were disqualified, but what happened after they were disqualified, there were some questions. The state legislature clarified that. We are now required to send out notice to all the other candidates that someone's been disqualified, and to get the emails from all the registered voters within Lindon from the county, send an email out to them notifying them that a person has been disqualified, and any votes cast for that disqualified candidate will not be counted. Everything's pretty much state code. I will point out, and this is just a technicality, but I'm not sure why they did it the state. It used to be you had to file your financial disclosure 7 days before the election. The primary, yeah, pretty short. So the state, for the general election, bumped it out to 28 days.
Okay.
But they left it at 7 for the primary. Talking with Kathy, we thought it made sense to keep a uniform date in here. So in our ordinance, we are amending it to be 28 days before both the primary and the general election. We're not required to do that under the state statute, but we thought it made sense. Consistency for candidates, consistency for the information that we're giving out, and so that's what we're recommending.
So you won't have very much information
Yeah, that's
for the
what-
most part. I
that's
mean,
what I'm
all of us
Well,
up front.
the primary,
I mean,
for
either one.
this year, yeah, the public, you know, those candidates in the primary, they won't if we cut it 28 days, but those primaries are in August.
Correct.
And so you will have a couple of months of information. So, but that's the council's decision. If you'd like us to amend that back to 7, maybe that's the reason the legislature didn't do it, is because when you get to the general election for the state, those primaries are in June, and there's even less time. So maybe that's why they did it.
Because of
But
their
talking with
primaries.
Kathy, we thought it was logical to keep it consistent.
Did they do this because, partly because of mail-in ballots, that in order to get somebody off the ballot before the mail-ins go in versus the 7 days when we used to do things
Right.
differently with the in-person? Was
Right.
this to
And
help with
honestly,
that?
that's a really good question. It does say specifically, if practical, if you can remove the name if practical before the election, and with mail-in ballots, I think that is exactly what they're trying to do, is give you a little more time to get that figured out.
Okay. I meant to call Aaron Davidson about this today, but I didn't, so thank you for that.
Okay.
All right, council, any other questions for Brian? Okay,
No, it's questions for Kathy to make sure she understands it, because she keeps us on the straight and narrow when you run, and that's a big deal, so.
Yeah, she
that's a
emails us,
thank-
make sure you
That's
get
a
it
thank
in.
you in the past, and
all right, well, this is the public hearing, and so if we have any questions from our public or about these timelines? All right.
make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Broderick to close the public hearing, seconded by Councilmember Magalby. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, council, back to you.
I will make a motion to approve election ordinance updates, ordinance number 2023-7-0, or O, not 0, O.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Vanchery. Do we have a
Second.
second? Okay, seconded by Councilmember Broderick. Any further discussion, council? All right, seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
I make a motion that Councilmember Hoyt adjourns this meeting.
I would screw it up.
He says he always screws it up, so I'm making a motion that he ends the meeting. Come on.
okay, take care of it, Van.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you, we're good. Motion to adjourn, second by Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Powell. She gets it. All in favor?
Aye.
Turn. Thank you so
Auction that
much.
off. It's 8 o'clock.
Not
Someday.
bad, not bad.
Someday.
Someday.
Try
No,
that.
I don't know how to.
Turn this down.